people interpreting your work in ways that maybe are really different than like the thought processes that you've had while you were creating it?
I love it, to be honest, because I feel like it just gives new meaning to the work. And for me, one of the things I live by is form follows function. And it's from a Lupe Fiasco song where he says, if you function properly, the form will come out of it. And so I always feel like if the work is functioning well, the meanings are endless and people are going to get so many different things out of it. And so that's almost exciting for me because then it kind of brings new meaning to the work in a way. And there's sometimes where people tell me what they get from it, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then there's like a subconscious pat on the back for myself that like, wow, your work is deep. But then I just like that process of people telling me what they think about the work, because then it feels more conversational. It feels less me just throwing things at you. And then it also gives me an opportunity to understand the work and understand myself better, because like I said, the work is a reflection of myself and my story. And so when people tell me about the work, it just gives me insights from other people's perspective, because at the end of the day, you need people. Everything that we do involves people. And so to be able to get that perspective on what the people around you think about your work, I like it.
I took a picture of my partner recently, and someone had made a comment about it, and they said that she looks strong and powerful, or like strong and soft, like the wind, like something like that. And I remember I was like, that's literally like what I was feeling. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like that was the point. And that's a conversation that her and I had when we were looking at the photos after, and I was like editing them. And so to have someone feel that exact thing, and obviously I know that's like one person, maybe people are interpreting it in a lot of different ways, but they aren't necessarily telling me directly. But that's not the first time that something like that has happened, you know? So I definitely, I think that there's like a clarity that I bring, but I think it's art. Like it's open to interpretation, and I'm open to receiving different interpretations of my work. I think art is communal. Like community is such a pillar in my life. It's like part of my ethos of just like how I navigate the world. And so I like to create for conversation and to bring us together. And, you know, I think one of like my main personality traits or like characteristics is curiosity. So it's like, I want to know what people think, like genuinely.
It's all welcome.
Yeah, exactly. Having thought about the message that you are trying to communicate, whether that's like consciously or subconsciously, how do you think you do that? Like through the work that you do, whether it's like film or photography, colors, textures, movement, how do you actually communicate that message?
I've never really thought about my art as communicating any message. Mm-hmm. So it's a bit hard to say. I would say in general, it's usually in some ways self-reflective. And so in that, I'm just trying to be as honest about my story or experience as possible. And other like sub-stories I want to tell as well. But all relating to my experience as a Black person in the world, as a Nigerian in Canada. So I try to be as true to that, but I don't know if there's any specific message there. I mean, like each project has like a theme that I'm exploring. So the last thing that I did was, it's called Jangilova. And there were a bunch of themes I was trying to explore there. It was like creativity, competition, money and its influence on creativity, and a bunch of other things. And so in that, I tried not just in the pictures or the video, but in the whole experience, because there was an exhibition as well, to speak to those themes. And when people came into the space, it was another opportunity to speak more about those things. With the programming that we did as well, they were all centered around those themes. So that's the closest I can say that I've come to passing across a message. But that wasn't a message. That was just like me speaking about the themes of the thing. So yeah.
You know, this is such an interesting question. And like, we've talked about it. I feel like we've talked about it plenty of times, just in like different ways of like, okay, well, what are we trying to communicate? And I think similar to you, when I think about that question, it's like, am I trying to communicate a specific thing, or am I showcasing the world in the way that I see it? You know, I said earlier when we were talking like offset, that in taking a closer look at my work, I realized that a lot of it has to do with women and womanhood, with queerness, with Blackness. And I didn't realize that. Like, I didn't realize that even when I first started. It was only after I started reviewing like what I was doing, I was like, oh, I'm naturally drawn to this kind of thing. And so I don't think I'm necessarily trying to communicate a specific message, but I think that I'm trying to just say like, I'm here, you know, and like, we're here. And this is what we look like. This is what we sound like. This is what our joy looks like. This is what our sadness looks like, our pain, our complexities. Like, we don't all look the same. Not all queer people look the same. Not all Black people look the same. Like, there is such a wide variety of everything. We're so layered. And I think that that's ultimately what I'm trying to communicate. Is like, we exist. I exist, you know? And I think coming from the background that I come from, which is a background that wasn't necessarily, or an upbringing that wasn't necessarily as open to my queerness as other folks, I think that that has been a theme of like, I'm here. Like, I exist. I would like to be seen. I would like to be held. I would like to be showcased, you know? So yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to communicate. I haven't really thought about it in that way, because it's just everything that you're doing, you know, it's like, I just want to take this photo, or I think this person's beautiful, or like interesting, or this would be fun, or whatever, you know? Like, even when I took photos of you, it was just like, oh, I have this project and like, I would love to photograph my friend, like, because of our connection and our friendship. And I just think that that's beautiful and fun. But yeah, I think that that's what